Ryan, an incredible speech today about the new partnership with The Graph. Messari, one of the most well-known brands in the crypto space. This is a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. As I said in the remarks, we've been very patient in terms of building on-chain infrastructure ourselves. And it's something that our users want. It's something that I think is much needed to help people understand what's going on in these different protocols. And the Graph community, Edge and Node, the Graph Foundation, and all the other core developers, the strides that they've made in the last 12 months have been tremendous, and it's really improved the reliability of the underlying protocol. We think that we're going to be able to come in and help improve the curation and kind of standards around the subgraphs themselves. So almost like we're the front-end developers as a new core developer focused on subgraphs to the back-end developers that are working on the rest of the core protocol. So we're excited for that, and we've got a terrific early community that's budding around the work that we're doing so far.
So the community's used to core development partnerships, but today's subgraph core development is a new term for the community. What will you be doing in that role specifically?
We're going to be trying to create better standards and data structures around the subgraphs, make sure that there's some consistency between different types of subgraphs. So DEXs will have a common taxonomy and design, lending protocols, NFT marketplaces, really whatever you could think of. There shouldn't be as much variation in the structure of subgraphs as there is today if we want a more kind of sustainable ecosystem. So I think creating different quality standards is also going to be a big component. How do you maintain these over time, and how do you make sure that the quality of the subgraphs across the board remains high? We're going to be responsible for 200 to start, not just us at Messari, but the community that we're building of other contract subgraph developers. And then over time, we expect that number, A, will expand, and B, there will be other folks working with us on these standards as more teams start building on the open subgraph infrastructure instead of creating their own infrastructure and paywalling the product.
Well, you kind of mentioned it there, but last question is, forming these standardizations critical to the future of subgraphs in Web3. For listeners that don't fully understand how important that is, why is standardization so important?
Well, it's important for, I'll use our example as a data company. If we're building on subgraphs historically, there's pretty wide variation in the consistency and exactly what information would be spit out of these subgraphs. And we can't have that, because if one metric for one asset looks wrong in a column that we have or a chart that we have, the whole product looks wrong. So you really need to have consistency and kind of high degrees of confidence in every single subgraph you're building on top of. That's been difficult historically for a variety of reasons. One is anyone can create a subgraph, which is good, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's gone through any period of review. Two, that same creator isn't necessarily the long-term maintainer. So you have a lot of subgraphs that can go stale. They can have different components that break over time. So improving that process and kind of long-term monitoring and maintenance is going to be important. And then figuring out the ongoing incentivization scheme for folks that are not just doing the initial creation work, but ultimately making sure that there's good uptime and good consistency whenever there's something that changes or in worst case scenario breaks in one of the subgraphs.